and welcome to the FLNG News Brief. I'm Army Staff Sergeant Carmen Fleischman. This month, the 53rd Infantry Brigade Combat Team conducted its annual training. We'll take a look at some of the things they accomplished. First, we'll hear from Private First Class Orion Edel as he covers some intense medical training.
March 31st, 2nd Battalion, 124th Infantry Regiment held a mass casualty exercise at Camp Blanding Joint Training Center. The soldiers acting as victims of the attack were each given a different injury.
We went back through the records for the past 15 years of war, and each of our patients in this is a direct reflection of the type of injury, the anatomical location, and the severity. So it's not just that we're throwing these imaginary injuries out there, but it's the things that they will see when they go to war.
After being bloodied up, the Combat Lifesaver Course participants and medics lined up and rushed out to assist the victims of the attack.
We had a team of medics out there, a team of CLS trained people. They were dispatched about 5 at a time, 5 CLS to 1 medic. Medic taking control after the CLS were given the opportunity to evaluate and intervene in the patient care. Medics came up to make sure that the patient care was being done appropriately and to make any additional interventions, at which time they called up a 9-line. The 9-line was called to our lieutenant here, who was our radio operator at the time. Then they were loaded into the ambulances after the ambulances were dispatched. Once that happened, they came over here to us, and then our NCOIC and our choke point NCO were there to triage and to assess the patients again to make sure that they were done appropriately and brought inside. At which point we have our mask out set up. We have red, yellow, blue designating different treatment levels that they need, and they were brought to the boxes and we assess and intervene as appropriate.
This was an especially beneficial exercise for the 2nd of the 124th due to the extensive experience of the leadership.
I work down in Orlando, Florida at Orlando Regional Medical Center, which unfortunately is an extremely busy trauma center. So I've been a part of multiple mass casualty exercises in real life. So this is a chance to basically mimic that in a training environment and make it as real as possible. Because like any training, the more real and the more stressful you make it, the more you're going to get out of it.
It was more than just rehearsing roles at this event. Everyone played their part in this function to create an efficient environment and build a foundation for the future.
I feel like the guys that I have and the units that are around me, we can work as a team. So it builds a trust, and it makes the Florida National Guard stronger as a whole because we're able to come together and do everything that we have to do.
I'm honored to be with it and with such great guys, and I couldn't think of a better battalion to be a part of.
Reporting from Camp Blanding, I'm Army Private First Class Orion Edel.
The theme for this year's Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month is Protecting Our People Protects Our Mission. The Florida National Guard showed its support of this cause in several ways. Many of our senior leaders signed proclamations challenging the National Guard team to step up and protect each other from sexual assault. Camp Blanding Joint Training Center hosted the annual Race for Respect 5K. And finally, the force turned out in teal and denim on April 26th to raise further awareness. Denim and Teal Day was even observed in Guyana by Assistant Adjutant General Brigadier General Mike Canzaneri and the Florida National Guard SARC team during their recent visit. Finally, AJ Artley shows us more of the training from the 53rd and how they worked with units from other states to make their training more of a joint effort.
So I'm here at the final event of these guys trying to earn their expert infantry badge. Now, they just completed a 12-mile road march, and after that, they have to assess a casualty, drag them 50 meters, and then sprint back to where they picked them up. And the guys that are trying to earn their EIBs, well, that's not the only thing that the 53rd Infantry Brigade Combat Team did these past 2 weeks. I started this day on the docks of Kingsley Lake, where the instructors from the Warrior Training Center out of Fort Benning, Georgia, were conducting combat water survival training as part of the light leadership course. The instructors gave the soldiers a tactical vest and weapon, then pushed them into the lake. The soldiers ditched the equipment and then swam 25 meters back to shore. After the group was done, they ran about a mile to the obstacle course for the next portion of the training. According to First Lieutenant Eric Rosa, the 2-week course is designed to introduce lower enlisted personnel to leadership concepts so they have a better understanding of the overall process. He says the soldiers will be ready to step into those leadership roles sooner rather than later and also pass that knowledge on to their peers.
Come on, don't give up!
So this is more just like a leadership force multiplier and not just a course for the individual. There's lessons you learn here that they could bring back to the table and that would enhance the unit overall.
The instructors from the Warrior Training Center were also educating soldiers in the Master Fitness Trainer course. The unit selected these soldiers to become experts in physical readiness. After the class, they have a better understanding of exercise science, training principles, and how to assess the physical readiness of individuals and their units.
The most important thing for them to learn while they're here is how to not drag their soldiers into the ground or run them until they get injured.
With the National Guard, that's a little bit more of a challenge because the units only get together one weekend a month, unlike the active duty soldiers who are required to do physical training every day.
And in order to help those soldiers balance their Army career along with their civilian career.
Second Lieutenant Gavin Rogers says he's going to provide his soldiers with as much information as he can, even though he only sees them 2 days every month.
Minimal face time makes being a master fitness trainer that much more important because we learn methods that we can give them for all the other time that they're not actually at drill.
So as these sergeants and officers learn how to create a physical training plan, across post, a different group of soldiers are taking part in a wellness camp. This 2-week course is focused on the individual and tries to teach them self-discipline.
To find that strength that you didn't think you had, you realize by day 3 that you do. Because you're pushed into a-day workouts.
Specialist Johnson says every soldier could benefit from this class, and she's happy she was able to take part.
It definitely builds confidence, it gives you strength in a number of different ways, and I'm truly grateful for it.
So if Luke answers me, he doesn't say anything else other than I'm here. He's verbal, right?
On the next block over from Wellness Camp, Headquarters and Headquarters Company 53rd Brigade Special Troops Battalion had their soldiers going through at least 1 day of medical training. They first received some classroom instruction on how to assess a casualty.
Come down. I'm not feeling anything. Again, there's no blood.
Apply bandages and tourniquets to help control bleeding. Afterwards, they were tested 2 at a time as other members of the class played the role of injured soldiers to help test them on what they learned. Specialist Weber Dixon says she's happy to teach her fellow soldiers the life-saving skills they would need in a combat zone.
It feels really good, especially knowing because I would most likely be deploying with at least a few of them. You know, they take care of me, I take care of you kind of deal. So, you know, and saving someone's life is no small matter. So as long as they know what they're doing and we can teach it correctly, I think that's a big part.
Next, we head over to the 1st Squadron 153rd Cavalry Regiment, where they had their own cameras rolling and provided us with some really cool footage of some of their training. On one of the mornings, they started at dark 30 as the formation prepared to take off for a 6-mile road march. As the troops made their way back to the company area, the sun began to rise, but it was still so early the fog hadn't had time to burn off yet. Another day of training took them out to Kingsley Lake, where they trained with Zodiac boats. In this simulation, a frantic person flips the boat over while being rescued. The team has to get the boat upright, get everyone back on board, and make their way to shore.
1 round. HE quick.
On this day of training, I caught up with a mortar section of the 2nd Battalion, 124th Infantry Regiment, as they were firing 120mm mortars.
Fire! Fire!
I've been in the new unit just about a month now. I just graduated basic training 2 months ago. I'm an ammo bearer. That's sort of like the new guy thing to do. You prep the rounds, you're taking them out of the boxes, making sure they're ready to go, and then you're handing them to the assistant gunner, who's dropping the rounds, but also working with the bipod when he needs to. And then the gunner is the guy actually laying in the sights, actually making sure that the data is where it needs to be.
Hanging! Fire! Fire!
And this is the first live fire mission that I've done. A lot of training going into it, but being here, seeing the rounds go off, all the prep work that goes into it, it's very exciting. I feel good about it. I feel comfortable knowing that these guys are very experienced, the higher-ups, the sergeants here, and the E4s, the specialists, are all really knowledgeable, passing that along to me and the other privates. I feel very comfortable with this, very, very safe, knowing that they're prepared.
Then it was time to make my way over to the hill to see who was making the call for fire.
This is Black Hawk 8-1. Adjust fire over. Grid, Mike Papa, 0870.
Here at the observation post, they look out over the impact zone where old vehicles were placed for target practice, radio the gun line with grid coordinates, and then watch the rounds fall. And finally, 159 soldiers began the training to earn their expert infantry badge. Master Sergeant Dan Slingerland explains to us what these soldiers have to do to earn their EIB.
There's 30 stations at which soldiers will have to test, individual tests. Inclusive of those, or additional to those, they have to conduct the Army physical fitness test, a land navigation both day and night, and a road march.
The 30 tasks range from applying camo, throwing hand grenades, to having a working knowledge of 10 different weapons, some of which they have to disassemble and reassemble, others properly load and fire. One of the few who earned their badge says the Weapons Day was the most challenging.
I think that's one of the most difficult days, especially for those that haven't seen the weapons in the past.
The expected graduation rate from those trying to earn their EIB is about 20%. One of the greatest challenges is getting to hear this.
You are a go at this time.
At least 28 times out of 30. So if a soldier hears,
stop, at this time you're a no-go.
3 times, they're disqualified.
Stop.
So for the 159 soldiers who began, only 31 earned their badges. And another demonstration of just how hard it is to get one of these. On the final day, only 32 began the road march, and the one who didn't make it missed it by 17 seconds. And if it makes them feel any better, it took Specialist Jordan Perez more than one time to earn his EIB.
Oh, huge relief, huge relief. This is actually my second time going, so it was kind of a moment of redemption for me, so it was a great relief for me.
Reporting from Camp Landing, I'm AJ Artley for the Florida National Guard. Always ready, always there.
That's all for this edition of the FLNG News Brief. Reporting from the Public Affairs Office, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Carmen Fleischman. Tune in next month to see what's happening in your Guard.